Hi everybody, welcome to Simply Scuba. In today's video, I'm going to be taking a closer look at the Tauchsport Tec Buoy Deluxe with valve. So this is a dSMB, a delayed surface marker buoy, and this kind of has everything that you kind of want on a delayed surface marker buoy. Everything from multiple ways to inflate it. It has a fluted valve, so it's naturally going to shut itself when it's fully inflated, so that way gas isn't going to escape out of the bottom when it's on the surface and flops over. As you can see, it has this sleeve which naturally wraps it up, which is great for cold water diving. So yeah, it ticks a lot of boxes. Let's see what you actually get. Okay, so let's take a look and see what you actually get through your door. So this is how it arrives in a plastic bag. So I'm gonna have to open that up. So, straight out of one plastic bag. Okay, and then we have our buoy. So this is naturally all wrapped up. So I'm just gonna open it up. And the only thing that you get is the dSMB. So if we take a closer look at it, going from head to toe, so wrapping it up again just so that you can see it fully, you have this built-in Velcro wrap that is going to hold it all nice and neatly. You have this D-ring here, which I'll show you a little bit later, so that you can clip it off onto a D-ring, and then when you're not using it, it's all wrapped up, it's all contained, so you don't have one of those bungee loops. You have this this sort of full-on Velcro wrap. A tab just to open it up. And then you unfurl it, and that's kind of the only function of this section here. Moving slightly up, there's that stainless steel D-ring, so to attach your line or attach a bolt snap. It's off-center, which I'm not a huge fan of. I normally like them a little bit more centralized, but it's going to do exactly the same job, to be brutally honest, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. Open-ended, so you can orally inflate it by using the exhaust from your octo or your primary, and there you go. You can see it here. It has, I call this fluting. It's like a duck valve in that when air goes in, it naturally funnels it into here, and then when you fully inflate the dSMB, or when it ascends and the gas is expanding inside, it's going to shut that valve at the bottom, so that when it reaches the surface, it's effectively closed at the bottom. So even if it does fall over on the surface, air can't escape outside because that valve has shut itself. So that's a clever design. Flipping it back over, we move up to the overpressure valve. As I mentioned just now, as the gas is expanding, as the SMB is ascending up to the surface, if it gets too full, then you have this overpressure valve so it doesn't damage itself, and then at the end of the dive you can tug on that to open that valve, drain the dSMB so you can deflate it. And also, if any water gets into dSMBs, I know mine gets some water inside of it, you can drain it out from there. Just above that, you have an inflation nozzle. So this is metal. This is going to marry up with a traditional sort of BCD or Drysuit hose. So if you do need to inflate the dSMB, you just retract the collar and then push the hose on. There's no locking mechanism, so it will never stick, but that will activate the inflator, and that will just inflate the SMB really quickly straight from your cylinder. Then as soon as it's full, as soon as you let go of it, it just slips off and the SMB shoots up to the surface. Moving along, so the main body of the dSMB, so this is heat sealed on both sides and then stitched on both sides, which is pretty much the best that you can get on a delayed surface marker buoy, because if it's only stitched on one side, it means the other side ends up folding, and then after a while that crease just ends up damaging the SMB, whereas with this, it stays flat, it doesn't crease, so it just increases the longevity. Moving on to the top of the SMB, you have a diver down flag on both sides, and that's about it. And then you have an attachment loop of webbing just at the top, so you can attach a glow stick or whatever you want. Just sort of thread a piece of bungee or something, so you can attach a notebook or whatever to send messages up to the surface. But otherwise, it's just a very simple dSMB. Okay, so inflation. So one of the most popular ways of inflating these, especially with a nozzle, is orally. So you effectively use this to blow up the tube whilst you're underwater by removing your second stage. That way your buoyancy doesn't sort of change. So yeah, that's very easy. Some of these valves, they're a little bit heavy. This one has a metal valve as well, so do be careful with your teeth, kind of clunking on the metal. But as far as blowing into the valve, it's very easy to orally inflate. And then if you did want to use a nozzle, then you retract that collar and then just push it on. And that fills pretty quickly. And yeah, on the surface, that fluting, that closes that duck valve so it stays inflated. The overall SMB, so this is what, 147 centimeters long, so just shy of 1.5 meters. Pretty big, decent size. So if you are in the high seas, it is going to stand above a lot of the waves. And it's nice and wide as well. It's about 16 centimeters when it's deflated. So that's, yeah, it's pretty obvious when you're on the surface. Right, so let's review this Tauchsport Tec Buoy Deluxe with valve. So we have 4 categories to review the surface marker buoys, and then a final overall score. So the first of all is the size of the buoy and how it's going to be visibly seen on the surface. Then we have the functionality, all the little bits and features that you can find on a buoy and what isn't on this buoy. The ease of use, the different ways of inflating it and all that kind of stuff, and how easy it would be to use even if you did have big thick gloves on. The cost is always a factor, and then yes, the final overall sum. So starting off with the size, 147 centimeters long, decent size, decent width as well, so does make it a lot easier for you to be seen on the surface, especially when it's fully inflated. It's going to stand really tall out of the water, so when you're doing your safety stop, remember to keep a bit of tension on that string so it sits up out of the water. Then when you're out of the water, you can pick it up and wave it around if you really do need to be seen. So that's scored a 5 out of 5. Because yeah, this is a pretty good standard size, even in sort of cold waters, but also if you're taking it abroad as well. It's not bonkers size. It's about the right size for this sort of style dSMB. You can get compact ones which are much smaller, but then of course when they're in the water on the surface, they're much smaller. So yeah, this is about right for size, which is why I got 5 out of 5. As far as functionality, it's only getting a 4. It does have most of the functions that you want and need on a dSMB, but it doesn't have absolutely everything. So it has multiple ways of inflating it, both orally and with an inflator hose. It has fluting. It has a wrap as well, which is great for cold water diving. If you do have clunky gloves on, I'll mention it a little bit later in the next section. But very easy to use instead of one of the fiddly little sort of bungee loops. The only place where it falls down on is it doesn't have reflective tape, and it doesn't have a message window. Now, not everyone really uses the message window, especially not in the way that they're supposed to be used, but this one doesn't. It does have that loop at the top, so you can attach things, but it's not as convenient as just a windowed sort of sleeve that you can pop a note in. And it doesn't have that reflective tape, so if you're lost at night in dark conditions, it's not as easy for you to be sort of spotted on the surface. So that's only getting a 4. As far as ease of use, yeah, a 5 out of 5. Very easy to use, easy to orally inflate, both either with your exhaust from your primary or using your octo, or orally inflating in that nozzle or using a hose. Very easy to use. As I mentioned just now, decent sized pull tab, so if you're wearing clunky gloves, very easy to open it up and deploy it. The D-ring is a decent size, so you can thread your line through that and attach it onto your line. Decent size pull toggle on the overpressure valve as well. So that gets a 5 as far as ease of use. Then onto cost. So this is in the kind of upper middle range. It's a deluxe buoy. The overall kind of finish of it is very, very nice. Nice materials as well, good strong materials. But as far as cost, it's only getting a 4, just because other dSMBs in this kind of price range, they do have the solus tape, sort of reflective tape and message windows. They don't have this wrap, which I think is what the price is kind of substituting for. So it's down to personal preference, whether you want that sort of very dark conditions reflective tape and a window, or if you want this wrap so that you can use it for cold waters. It's kind of that toss up between the two. It's not the most expensive dSMB out there on the market, but it does sit in a pretty good price point. The only thing that I'd kind of be expecting to see is some kind of solus reflective tape at the top of it at this kind of price range. And then overall, it's going to get a 9 out of 10. It is a solid contender. It is a good dSMB. I'd be more than happy using this at home and abroad. I can't fault it too much. The only things that I can criticize it for is, it doesn't have solus tape. It's not really a deal breaker for me, but it's something worth noting, and it doesn't have that message window neither, which again isn't really a deal breaker for a lot of divers. So if you need a solid dSMB, decent size, that you can use very easily in cold water, I think this is where this dSMB is really going to specialize, because of this wrap instead of the little bungee, which can be a little hard to use when you've got thicker gloves on. Then this is probably who that's really made for. The Tauchsport Tec Buoy Deluxe with valve. Right, so that's the Tauchsport Tec Buoy Deluxe with valve dSMB. All in all, pretty good delayed surface marker buoy, decent size. So even if you're diving in fairly tall waves, they're still going to stand out above and sort of help you get seen in the water. Red or orangey red is the natural diver down dSMB color, so you're going to stand out as a scuba diver in the water. It ticks a lot of boxes as far as the construction is well made. Nice strong material, so this will last for a long time. More information on our website simplyscuba.com, or just head down to the link down in the description below. Thank you for watching, and of course, safe diving.